If there's ever a reminder of time, it's here. The promise of birth and finality of death, simply displayed for all to see. But in a sport where athletes are remembered with their names engraved on trophies, on these plots of earth, it's the weathered stones above ground, yet uninscribed, that can reveal a deeper story.
Here in Augusta, each April gather the greats of golf. This is the testing place of champions.
We were the best caddies in the world at the time. We were the best caddies in the world at the time.
And a lot of the black caddies came from off the hill, what we call Sand Hill.
The neighborhood of Sand Hills is a historically black community in Augusta, Georgia. For those who grew up there, the courses across the fence line represented a path of upward mobility and possibility, despite living in a segregated town.
We had nowhere to play. Yeah. With no golf course that would allow black people to play golf. Not even yet.
They could walk next door to Augusta Country Club and learn how to caddy and make money.
You graduate, you learn over here, and you get good enough to go across the street.
And that's when you got the chance to go to Augusta National.
And when I got to Augusta National, I thought I was in golf heaven. I'd never seen nothing like it before.
My mom and dad, they worked at King Mill back at the time, and they were only making $15 or $20 a week. And if you got a good bag at Augusta National, you might get $20 that day.
Proving oneself was essential to keeping the job. The best way to learn was from the godfather, Willie Stokes, simply referred to as Pappy.
Pappy was the grandfather of all of us. He taught us all how to caddy. I mean, he knew that golf course almost by every blade of grass.
He learned how to read the greens by sitting there as a kid watching it rain, and the rain would flow downhill in the hilly terrain at Augusta toward Race Creek.
As long as you were a good kid, he'd take care of you. If you were not a good kid, he'd put an effing on you. He wouldn't tell you nothing.
Stokes caddied his players to 5 Masters titles with 4 different champions. And although no one had Pappy's historical knowledge, that didn't mean the other characters and nicknames in the caddy barn weren't as memorable. There was Cemetery, a man of small stature who woke up in a morgue after a knife fight. He became President Eisenhower's caddy of choice. Then there was Iron Man Avery, who got his nickname after losing a couple fingers in a firecracker accident. At age 16, he picked up Arnold Palmer's bag and would go on to win 4 green jackets with the King.
From 1934 until 1982, Augusta National had the rule: if you come to the Masters and you play, you have to use an Augusta National caddy.
That local knowledge proved most useful in 1979 when Jerry Bubba Beer found himself in the spotlight on the bag of Masters rookie Fuzzy Zeller.
I didn't know who he was.
I had a new.
He said, "You read greens?" I said, "Yep." He said, "Which way it break?" I said, "It's gonna break a little right." And he knocks it in the hole. He said, "It's your game." He never had a yardage book or nothing. I pulled all the clubs, read all the putts. He said he was like a blind man with a seeing eye dog.
Veteran Masters caddy Jerry Beard has given Fuzzy the lines absolutely dead on every day.
20 years before Zeller's win, the most successful partnership in tournament history began. In 1959, caddy Willie Peterson picked up the bag for a Masters newcomer.
Leon McClatty was caddying for him. He said, "Jack Nicklaus working too hard.
Yeah,
who wants the bag?" No, I don't want, no, I ain't gonna work sun up, sundown for him. Jack work you from 8 o'clock in the morning to 8 o'clock at night.
Probably the last caddy.
The last person to lead it. So Willie Peterson will take him.
If you look at the 1975 Masters, the most famous putt Nicklaus made is the long putt up the hill on the 16th hole. Willie Peterson's tending the flag. Willie's jumping up and down behind the hole when the ball's approaching.
That putt sent Willie Peterson, Jack's caddy, into orbit.
1972, Sports Illustrated comes out, and there's Jack Nicklaus on the cover, but right in front of him is Willie Peterson with his hand up like this with a cigarette in his mouth.
My older sister, Pondra, she ran across Sports Illustrated, and my dad was on the front cover. We bought it, and we took it home, and we showed my mom and the rest of our siblings, you know, look at Daddy, he's on the cover of Sports Illustrated.
For the Caddies who are still living, the memories are there, stories they can still tell. But for those who have passed, like Vanessa Peterson's father, Willie, the notion of being remembered was missing.
You could go to where he was buried, but there was no marker. Everybody knows about Hogan's legacy, Nicklaus's legacy, Palmer's legacy, but buried in Augusta, in downtown Augusta, are the caddies that were so instrumental to them winning. You don't remember them if they don't have a marker and have the inscription on there of what they did or when they won the Masters.
These guys caddied for Augusta National and caddied for some of your major golf superstars. For them, even just to be buried without a headstone is just, you know, that just hits me hard in the gut.
The storyline of these old Augusta National caddies is something that should not be forgotten.
In 2018, writer and filmmaker Ward Clayton discovered that Arnold Palmer's longtime caddy, Ironman Avery, was buried in an unmarked grave. After raising money from the community and the Palmer family, they were able to remedy it. And in 2020, once Jack Nicklaus found out about his caddy, Willie Peterson, also not having a marked grave, the six-time Masters champion was determined to help.
Hello, Vanessa. This is Jack Nicklaus.
Hello.
You know, your father, he was a really good guy. We had a lot of fun. Your dad was a character. It just came to my attention recently that your father does not have a headstone there where he passed in Augusta. And that's a shame. And I'll take care of that personally. I'm happy to do that. Willie Peterson was not only a good guy, but a good friend. Hope our paths cross one of these days, Vanessa. Good luck.
Thank you. Oh, that was really sweet.
Among the trophy raises and celebrations on golf's greatest stage were the men who carried a weight much heavier than the clubs on their shoulders, all while wearing a name that was never their own on their backs. And now, along with their own accomplishments, their lives and their names can be remembered forever.